behalf of the Clayoquot Hotway, welcome. I think we all have a role to make sure it works. I want to welcome you and thank you for the work that's here. In our traditions, we would open with guiding words that would be asking for the teachings of the Creator. So we bring this table to everyone here for our grandchildren. Thank you for being here.
My name is Terry Dorward. I'm from the Seacher family. I'm from Clayoquot and Howsit. And I'm really glad to see everybody here. And it's through monitoring that we feel that it's an important aspect of fulfilling what is rightfully ours. And we continue to seek partnerships with various organizations, with individuals, and we're always looking for support in terms of helping people to get out in the territories, and whether it's species at risk or stream rehabilitation.
First of all, I'd like to just tell you a bit about our culture, about the first law that pertains to all people in the world. It doesn't matter what color, race, religion we are. Everyone has a certain measure of self-respect. Some have a great deal, some have little. But that's a teaching I was taught to us ever since then, until we were growing, until we died. It didn't stop when we were born. It continued on throughout life. But it was also the teachings of our roles and responsibilities for the rest of our lives about how we are expected to behave in our country. We had rules and laws for everything. And that first teaching and that first law enabled us to live in this world here. And it enabled us to live very, very richly. It was one of the richest places on earth. Like I said, the next most important teaching of life. Never have fear, show fear of anything. Because if you're afraid and you want to learn something, you might only learn this much. But if you're not afraid, you can learn anything. I have a very big concern about deforestation issues in this part of the world now. I have traveled to Europe many times to speak about the deforestation and the human rights issues of our people. That Mother Nature's going to provide for us, but not our greeds.
All right, my name's Mike Davis, and I'm with the Clayoquot Forest Communities Program. We want to say thanks for all of you for coming. I mean, I'm really kind of blown away with the crowd we see in front of us, and I mean, I think it just sort of speaks to how important what we're doing here really is, and how much support there is for kind of monitoring. Sort of 15 to 20 years, we've seen a really major change in how forests especially, and resources have been managed in Clayoquot Sound and really all over British Columbia. There has been a lot of different kind of monitoring going on. Rather than looking at monitoring and all these little pictures across the region, to be able to take more of a whole system approach. A partnership in the region would be a really good way to go about this. I'd like to introduce Dion Buncha and Dr. Barb Beasley.
My name is Dion. I'm a researcher from Simon Fraser University. I've met some of you guys. I'm the pesky researcher who's been coming and asking you all these questions. The two themes are how the science panel recommendations have been implemented and what are the challenges for the future.
This is an opportunity to come in 10 years later and look at what's happened since I was working pretty heavily in this area, and try to see how we can move forward. My role is to support the work that Dion has been doing, to look at how the scientific panel recommendations have been followed and implemented. We just had a meeting just this past week with the Tribal Park Guardians, which was really rewarding. How do we figure out what our priorities should be for monitoring? That part of the work is where it gets creative, and that's where it would be great to have some input from people like everybody who's here tonight.
I worked with Barb 10 years ago. I was on your Criteria and Indicators Committee, and at that time we were puzzling over how do you integrate socioeconomic indicators in the scientific panel recommendations.
I'm from West Coast Aquatic. I'm the Director of Ecosystem Science, putting all of our collective thoughts together to try to figure out the best approach for assessment and monitoring and management strategies and so forth. What we're shooting for is monitoring social ecological system health. We want to develop strategies to cope with change.
It was a really exciting time to be living in this area because the science panel had just come out. I now live in another area that's a bit of a center for innovation. and this is in Wet'suwet'en Territory near Smith. I'd like to tell you about the efforts that people up there have been having in struggling with community-based monitoring, just like you guys are. So you can think of monitoring as having 3 broad categories. Some people divide it into 4 or 5. But implementation is, did we do what we said we'd do? We're getting pretty good at that. But then there's effectiveness. Effectiveness monitoring asks, are we achieving our objectives? And there's a third kind, validation monitoring or research, and it asks, are we achieving our objectives because of what we did? The thing about prioritizing based on risk is that this group no longer has to think about which is worth more, recreation, biodiversity, timber. Doesn't matter. We're looking at which are most at risk. It's a common currency.
When I was approached by Mike to assist with this, my primary role is as a community facilitator. With the huge amount of knowledge and information that was slated to be shared, we really wanted to make sure that we honored the people who came to provide that information to all of you. But equally to that, we wanted to ensure that we heard from each of you that attended here this evening. It's great to see such a large turnout of community members who all share a common interest in forestry monitoring or the forest in general. What we really want to do is honor each of you for attending this evening, and we really want to, in a meaningful way, hear from you and hear what your thoughts are.